I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture. I can't do what I want to do with my own body, and who in the hell set things up like this? I was wrong again to be me being me where I was. Wrong to be who I am. I am very familiar with the problems of the CIA, and the problems of white America in general, and the problems of the teachers and the preachers and the FBI and the social workers and my particular mom and dad. I am very familiar with the problems because the problems turn out to be me. I am the history of the terrorized incarceration of myself. I am the history of battery, assault, and limitless armies against whatever I want to do with my mind and my body and my soul. I am not wrong. Wrong is not my name. And I can't tell you who the hell set things up like this, but I can tell you that from now on, my resistance, my simple and daily and nightly self-determination may very well cost you your life. I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture. I can't do what I want.
Hey, girl, hey.
What
Happy
up?
Friday.
Yes, indeed. Happy Friday. End of the month Friday. You feel me? That's special.
Yeah. Friday night. Just got paid. Parties jumping. Did you go to a lot of parties on Friday night?
No,
Like, was there a...
no.
Yeah.
I was a basketball kid, so Friday night means that I had Saturday morning games. So no,
Would you have gone to parties when
probably
you
not.
were a black
Well,
girl?
depending on what age.
Pick one. When you were a black girl.
Um, I think I wish I had went to more parties than I did.
Uh,
I think I'm realizing that I presume myself as more awkward than other people perceive me to be.
you think so?
Are you being you see what I'm saying? You see are you being facetious? I can't tell. That's my point. You see Jesus.
I can only say that because we're friends. If someone else said that about you, I would be annoyed.
And that is the definition of friendship. But
Yeah.
I wish I did, you know. Skate parties were a big thing. Um
Can you
I'm
skate?
yes.
Really?
Yeah.
Is skating a big thing in Minneapolis?
I think in the Midwest, like indoor winter activities like bowling and
That makes
skating,
sense.
yep, are black people things, right?
Because it's a big deal in Chicago. Like when
Yeah.
I when I lived in Chicago, some of the people I would spend time around, like they were always trying to go to the skating rink.
Yeah, skating. And Minneapolis is like Chicago soda.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
similar, yeah.
Oh, and then the only other city that I have lived in besides Jackson is Atlanta, and Atlanta is a big skate city too.
It definitely is.
Oh, and then another city. This don't got nothing to do with what we're supposed to be talking about today. But I used to spend a lot of time in Houston, and now, um, my bestie from college lives in Houston. That's also a very big skate city. I
Yeah,
guess skating is just a thing that people be doing, huh? Not me
low
though.
key. Yeah.
Okay, whatever. It's good to see you.
You as well. I like the outfit. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. It's
Yes,
my
yes.
athleisure. It has short.
Oh. Okay. Yeah, I see the drawstring. Okay.
Yeah. Listen. What is happening in your black girl world?
um, it's March Madness. Like I said, I'm a basketball kid,
Yeah.
so um I wrote I think I said this before, but I wrote my dissertation on black women playing college basketball at PWIs, and the internal and external things that they go through, on the team, on campus, in cities. A lot of rural cities are better in sports. So it's funny that now a lot of things are happening in the college game where people are looking at it. Like Ole Miss, who has a black coach, black team, played
Mhm.
University of Minnesota at Minnesota, and the refs just decided they wanted the white girls to win. and growing up in Minnesota, it was very familiar. But I think because women's basketball is more popular, people are more, there's just more eyes on seeing like, oh, there's racism, right? So the Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese thing brought it, but now people are looking at a lot of stuff like why there's not more Black women coaches in women's basketball when Black women comprise over half of the players, stuff like that. So it's fun to watch the game and hear the commentary around it because these conversations are not generally had in like mainstream conversations about basketball. So that's what I'm on. What about you? What's the word in your Black girl world?
I'm a lot better than the last time we did the show, so that's exciting. I was out for the count for a little more than 2 weeks, so I feel so much better. I'm glad about that. Work always, family stuff always, and that's a good thing. It's a bad thing. It's a neutral thing. Just that is what it is. The only other thing that is really exciting for me is I just bought a vintage Gucci bag, Tom Ford era, really big deal. And it's shaped like an Hermes Kelly bag. And I'm so excited about it because that is definitely a way that I indulge and engage in capitalism. I like a bag, especially vintage bags now. So yeah, that's a thing that I'm excited about. I can't wait for it to show up on my
So
door.
let me ask, because I aspire, but the bag world is overwhelming to somebody who didn't grow up like carrying purses.
Hmm.
What makes something vintage? Like how old does it have to be? Like
I think it's at least 25 years.
okay, all
Yeah.
right, cool.
There's a lot of things that are what was it retro people call vintage, but I think that's the around the number mark where people will call it vintage. It's
Yeah,
25.
there's a distinction. Okay.
Mhm.
Well, shoot, I can't wait to see it.
Me either. I'm so excited. It's my second Tom Ford era Gucci vintage. I mean piece. So yeah, I'm excited about it.
Tom Ford era. Put me on.
Oh, Tom Ford used to be the creative director of Gucci. Gucci was not the Gucci that people know today. It was falling apart. Just you know, very. It was very common to find knockoffs of Gucci because they were just licensing their stuff to everybody, trying to make money. So in order to save the company, because from actually to save the company from the Gucci family itself, Tom Ford was brought in as creative director. So
Okay,
this is obviously before he launched his own line,
cool.
eponymous line, which
See, look at
obviously
me learning,
well, yeah.
learning how to be cultured. You feel me?
I mean, I don't know if we call it culture, but sure, sure. So let's talk a little bit.
Wait, let's welcome the people. This is
Oh,
Grown Black Girls. You feel me?
hey y'all. Sorry. Yeah, thank you for that. I be forgetting things. Um, Always got to do our little shouts out. Shout out to African World Order. Shout out to the Lighthouse Black Girl Projects. Oh, if you want a mug, we have mugs. Black Girl Projects. Yeah.
I do.
Oh, I mean not black. This is Black Girl Times.
I do.
You have one of these?
No, I want one. What are you talking about?
Oh, okay.
I'll never be getting no swag. Yeah, we are Grown Black Girls. It's just a podcast where we express and celebrate, the Black womanhood that's shaped by the girlhoods that we had. We talk about different topics from different points of views. We'll have interviews, things like that.
Yeah, it's about time for us to have an interview. And one more thing, how many times do we have to introduce what it is? When can we stop doing that?
I do not know who said the comments in the chat. Who I don't know. I don't know. Ooh, we got two questions. Well, we got two comments. One says "Go Vols." I'm gonna unravel that because they the fact that they didn't fire that coach is why all their players aren't in the portal. But that's a whole nother conversation. We got a question that says, "What is Black Girl Times?"
Black Girl Times is a part of the Lighthouse Black Girl Project's ecosystem. And it is an online publication, multimedia publication, where we do investigative journalism and narrative shifting um, culture stories. Narrative shift for us is the stories that we tell and repeat. And so part of our work through Black Girl Times is to undo some things. Like there are some stories that need to be interrupted and told the correct way and then repeated over and over until they become part of culture and not the typical narratives, especially about Black girls and women in the South
Yep.
generally, but also in the South.
So check that out. There will be a link somewhere.
Yeah, there'll be
I
a
read
link.
it.
You read it. You be reading it.
Sometimes, you know what I'm saying?
Oh, you just read it when you in it.
No, but I do be in it though.
Okay, so before last time, I think when we had the Oscars happen.
We was previewing. You know what I'm saying? We was jumping
Okay.
on before it started.
Okay, and so what happened? Tell us about the Oscars. Why are we talking about it again?
Well, because it happened. I think that um to be expected, right? I think people started getting disappointed when Sinners didn't win everything. Um in some of the categories, it was gonna be like it's gonna be hard to beat Frankenstein when you're talking about like makeup and costume. Um, so Frankenstein got those kind of categories. Um, it's gonna be hard to beat white man's, revolution fetish of black revolutions, because that's what America likes to see. So One Battle After Another did win the best picture. It did win best adapted screenplay. But Sinners won Best Original Screenplay. Michael B. Jordan won Best Actor, and I think they won Best Original Score. So there were some wins in there. Um, but in the hubbub, right? Because we talked about Tiana Taylor, and again, there was an incident that we want to highlight because as she was going on stage to celebrate with the cast after winning the award, she, in her, I want to say just, I don't want to call it like benevolence, but she realized that two of the people who were like part of the crew weren't on stage. So she gets off stage, goes to try to grab them to say, hey, come celebrate this moment with us. And security stops her from going back on stage, right? Guy security guard put his hands on her and
This
tried
is
to
during the ceremony.
this is when she was going to go on stage, right? And um she didn't cuss him out, she didn't retaliate, to violence. She just told him, get your hands off me, you're being very rude, like you're being disrespectful. Let people help you understand who I am if you don't know, or just kind of explain the situation because you're out of pocket. She kept her composure. But of course the narrative is, oh, she's so ghetto, and she's ruining the moment, and all these things were said about her. And she was, again, very gracious in trying not to let it derail the situation, because people kept asking her, what happened? What happened? She was like, let's celebrate. But again, just another incident of how, someone going to try to piss in your cornflakes as a black woman. And yeah, because I mean,
I never heard that expression before. I'm sorry to distract.
I don't know where I got it, but
I don't like
it always stuck because that would mess up my whole day.
Yeah.
But yeah, so just wanted to talk about the aftermath, um, because it's not like we celebrated her necessarily for the role and everything,
I
but
did.
it still sucked to see that she couldn't enjoy the moment because someone decided she didn't deserve to be on the stage. So
What are people saying about it? I didn't even know about this until you told me.
Yeah, it's it's the issue that comes up with her a lot is that she's too extra, right? She's too loud. Her outfits are too, I don't want to use the word flamboyant, but not appropriate. That she makes herself big. She's got a deeper voice, a strong New York accent. Her demeanor, um, her mannerisms, they come from ball culture, so things are very exaggerated, right? She's a choreographer, so she moves, but it was just she was just doing too much to a lot of people, and that became the conversation, right? It wasn't the conversation about maybe security shouldn't have put their hands on her.
Yeah.
Maybe it was good for her to speak up. And then there were a lot of, like, unfortunately, like, older Black people who were telling her to calm down. So that became a big show because one of the older Black women who was telling her to calm down and she was making a scene, like, was doing all this while her tracks were visibly showing. So then that just kind of took the conversation in another direction, because how you gonna be trying to check somebody about being respectable and you didn't put your whole track in where it was not visible to the world on the red carpet. So yeah.
That's interesting. We should definitely talk soon about what it means to shrink ourselves. There are definitely instances, people that I think, oh, you doing too much, right? I also have to I'm coming to an understanding for myself that sometimes I'm deciding that someone or something is too much only because it's not the way I would do it. And so that does not necessarily mean it's too much. It's too much for me and the way I express. So I think, yeah, I think we should talk about that one day. Because there's definitely an expectation that women, then Black women, and other women of color shrink to fit the narrative, the situation, the whatever.
Yeah.
So
And then the assumption is that when we're just being ourselves, it's the default is that we're too much,
yeah,
right?
just
So
existing is too much.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah, that's yeah.
yeah,
We should talk about that more.
yeah. Put that
Um,
for later. Tell our
listen,
producer to remind us of that one for me, because we got a producer.
listen. Speaking of too much, let's talk about this bachelorette girl, Frankie Taylor, Taylor Paul Frankie, whichever order it is.
Paul is on the end because I thought she was related to them other folks for a second.
Okay, Taylor Frankie Paul then. Doing too much. So if you don't know, this young woman there was a thing called Mom Talk that I had never heard of. Anyway, Mom Talk ends up with a show, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives. And from that show, some of the young women on that show have gone on to, like, parlay their way into doing other things, being on Dancing with the Stars. I think one of them I learned from a person yesterday, I think. One of them is starring in Chicago as Roxy. Just okay, cool. So this Taylor Frankie Paul, yeah, I said it right. Taylor Frankie Paul was chosen to be the Bachelorette, that long-standing franchise on ABC. Secret Lives of Mormon Wives is on Hulu. ABC owns Hulu. So, yeah. So she's chosen to be the Bachelorette, a long-standing, but probably it's fair to say sinking franchise. So, let's add some new life. Anyway, the girl is the Bachelorette, and then suddenly they say, no, you can't be the Bachelorette because this video that we decided not to show comes out because there's this domestic violence situation between her and her on again, off again partner. Video is pretty violent. You can look it up. Like throwing bar
Yeah,
stools, all of that. It's terrible.
and her partner is a white male larger than her, right?
Very
So
much larger.
that
She's a
dynamics
tiny
of it,
girl.
um, we decided not to show it because we don't want to highlight violence. But she was really, like you said, throwing bar stools, and she had thrown clothes all over everywhere. But again, the reason we bring it up is on one end you have someone like Tiana Taylor being assaulted and being considered too much. On the flip side, you have a white woman who has a history, right, of intimate partner violence, being cast in a position as one of the most eligible bachelorettes in the country. So there's a serious dichotomy and a double standard when it comes to the way we the way we want black women to shrink, and in the same breath allow and encourage white women to really be offensive and too much, right? The whole Karen, like that whole archetype of is come from white women just being exaggerating, being abusive, harassing people for no reason. So there's a double standard that we wanted to talk about with that context.
Yeah, I think one of the things is there are a few things. One of the things that just came to mind when you were talking just then is to underscore that for the most part, we this generalization can be attributed primarily to white cis hetero women, because the system, the algorithm, if you will, has nothing for a white woman who is same gender loving, who is trained. Like, no, stay away. So no, you got to be cis and hetero.
Yep. I ideally you have to espouse values of Christianity and quote
Yeah.
unquote family values. So even within that cis heteronormativity, there's a specific archetype of white woman that is also presented as the epitome of femininity.
Right.
Skinny, blonde, petite,
Yeah.
and she fit the mold. And I think it shows a couple of things. Like, if when white women fit the mold, they don't have to be held accountable for their actions because they
Mhm.
live in a society that not only protects them from being seen as aggressors, but it will project those exact things on the black women. It will vilify black men,
Mhm.
fundamentally in this construction of white femininity, for sure.
Mhm. And then so then we go from that. We just gonna operate in that is true. I mean, it's true for us, but we're gonna operate. So then we go from that truth to so someone might say, well, they canceled the show, except for they knew that this happened. Like, this video was it's not like it that just happened. Like, the attack just happened. It was from like 3 years ago or something, and had been going on in the relationship. So it wasn't a surprise to ABC.
Right. But this image is, I think it underscores how much whiteness is invested in this image of white femininity being seen as idyllic, right? Because
Mhm.
when black women are catty or violent, they can be on reality TV too, but not as an eligible or potential wife for anyone, right? These are the
Yeah.
baby mamas, these are the ratchet queens, these are the women that show, these are, welfare queen, sapphire, like, for this era, right? So these are the women you would never want to marry. These are the reasons why, black children can't read and black men date interracially. So to
Mhm.
see the way that, those behaviors are used, as what Patricia Hill Collins calls controlling images for black women, when white women can use the same thing and monetize it, right? Profit from it, that, that just shows how propaganda is operating alive and well in the interests of not only MAGA, right, but just whiteness in general.
Then we go. So that brings us then to another double standard about when, especially we're going to stick primarily to talking about physical violence when the woman is the perpetrator of harm. So in a hetero relationship, and even in queer relationships when it's two men, but we'll stick with the hetero right now. So in a hetero relationship where the woman is the aggressor, the perpetrator of harm, and the man is the one who has been harmed, there is no way to be, how people talk about the perfect victim. There is no perfect victim for a man. Either you should have done whatever to keep this from happening. I won't let no hit me, right? Or it's he is, the only word that comes to mind disparaging is punk, but like whatever it is, he's a this, he's a that, because he let it happen. So there is no way to do it right. And then also, one of the only times that we see in the criminal justice system, people, we're pretty sure that something is going to happen to the person who has perpetrated harm, whether it's a ticket, whether it's a night in jail, whether it's whatever. It's when it's a woman.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, and I know I'm not a fan of the criminal justice system at all. And there's been acknowledgement of this disparity, but there hasn't been anything to deal with it. And in some ways, the ways that they've tried to deal with this disparity has exacerbated harm, specifically for Black women, women of color. In California, what they decided to do was if anyone makes a claim of intimate partner violence, they just arrest both people, right? And they said that, the justification for this law was that, one, it would it would make people think twice about filing false claims of intimate partner violence, because that's such a big issue. Second, they said that it would neutralize the gender imbalance if you just arrest both people. So whoever's the perpetrator, just arrest them both and then let it be sorted out. Of course, that was a terrible idea, because now women who can't afford in multiple ways to be in the criminal legal system, like if you have a job or if you have a child and you don't want to, lose your child, lose custody or lose work because because you're locked up, that becomes a deterrent to calling the police. Now, calling the police is never. I wish, I'm always for better alternatives for public safety for Black people, but the idea that now calling the police is taken off the table because you're likely as a victim to be incarcerated, because someone thought that would balance out the gender inequalities, shows how lacking the understanding is of these dynamics. I think one of the reasons is because it's really hard to get good statistical data about men who are harmed by their partners, right? And again, we're sticking to hetero couples, but this is true in queer relationships too. Specifically in queer relationships, the idea that the police categorize it, right? If a man and a man are fighting and a woman are fighting, it's rarely acknowledged that it may be an intimate partner violence situation. So when it's written up, it's often just two men fighting, two women fighting. The underlying reasons that may be romantically connected are rarely logged in police reports, which means that when folks like me try to go get data, that data doesn't exist because that's not how it was reported.
Yeah.
Right? And then what you pointed to, if you're a man and and people find out that not only are you getting attacked by your girlfriend, right, but that you reported it to the police, that's like doubly emasculating, right? So the statistics um, are terrible. And there's not a lot of shelters. There's not a lot of places
Oh, for sure.
that men can go if they're experiencing
That
abuse.
people, period.
That's
We'll
a
just start with people, period. But
that's a
then men,
yeah.
where are you supposed to go? You should just not. Why you let her talk to you like that? Why you let her hit you like that? And if it's the same gender loving couple, well, you shouldn't be in that kind of relationship anyway.
Yep. Yep. It's pretty it's pretty devastating. And I say that because um we're in an era now where the regime that we're under is trying to remove access to the data and statistics we do have, right? Or like literally National Health Institute has noticed that data that disaggregates means like when you have statistical data, it can be a population or it can have specific groups within a population. Like it can disaggregate by age, by race, ethnicity, location. Like a lot of that sexuality and gender, a lot of it is like a lot of those smaller details are just being completely removed, right? So now if I want statistical data on intimate partner violence, it just says overall population data, right?
Yeah.
So it was hard to get initially, but now this regime is intentionally removing the ways we can use to prove essentially different types of disparities, inequalities, um, because like statistically, who some of the worst perpetrators of intimate partner violence are?
Who?
Law enforcement,
Yeah.
right? So, but yeah, I think that
Yeah.
um,
If there's one thing a cop gonna do is beat their wife. I want I want to read these statistics just because we're talking about statistics and then just hear your response. These are from 2024 from the Domestic Violence Services Network. It says 1 in 4 men experience domestic violence, 25%. 1 in 2 men experience psychological aggression. 1 in 7 experience severe physical violence. 1 in 19 experience stalking, and 1 in 71 experience rape or sexual assault.
I
When
think
you hear those statistics, what comes to your, what do you think?
I in a lot of ways, I think the culture of masculinity allows these statistics to be underreported. I think that if you have as a man, right, if you have women or because we're sticking to heteronormativity because of the example we were provided, but if you have a whole bunch of women chasing after you, um that's not understood or read as stalking, right?
Who
If
don't want that?
right,
Maybe not
exactly.
you.
The more the
Hmm.
better, right? If you don't
Hmm.
have I know people who have grown up to believe that women arguing is a show that we care or a show that we're invested. So there becomes this dynamic where, people start fights and arguments for no reason. Um to manipulate their partner. Those things are rarely acknowledged as psychological or emotional abuse, right? And I think when it comes to underreporting instances of rape, it's very hard. I used to do some classes in Oakland with young people about consent and things like that. It's very hard to get folks to understand that um, rape is not like what we think of, the stranger in the alley.
Person in the bushes with in
Yeah,
the
there's
white
a lot of
van. Yeah.
non-consensual things that happen that we don't teach our young people about in terms of that's not okay or that wasn't okay on both ends, right? In terms
Hmm.
of I had conversations with, and this is Oakland, so Oakland has a culture of pimping, which which skews ideas of consent in general, transactional sexual relationships in general,
Yeah.
but the idea of like finessing someone into sex who initially said they didn't want it, right, is not seen as non-consensual, right? So I
Hmm.
say that to say I think some of these statistics are underreported just because we don't have good enough education, especially for young people, but for people of all ages, of like what consent is, what abuse is, what healthy relationships look like. Um, because again, we decided not to show the video, but I think so. The video is a point of view video from the guy as he's being attacked. And one of the reasons that, he recorded it is for evidence. Because again, the conversation is, why can't you control your woman? Right? Why would you let her do that? You're so big and she's so small. Ain't no way she could
Yeah.
be hurting you. Right. So, um, yeah, the statistics, uh, as always, right? As a data scientist, I wish we had better statistics for a lot of things that show harm that's caused in our society. Um, but that's why we do the work we do.
This also makes me think of some things that are happening or happen to us in terms of statistics and reporting. Um, it is not uncommon for people to not even like it not even cross your mind to report what's happening. And it doesn't of course culture and plays a part in it. Sorry, I'm having a hard time articulating. Whatever's happening around you plays a part in that, but then also just the things that just again don't even cross your mind. Like I'm thinking about I've been stalked before, but I was stalked by a woman who was dating an ex of mine, and she decided that that he and I were still in a relationship. She lived in a completely different city, and she would drive to where I was to follow me around. She called some of my friends. How she got their numbers, I don't know. Because this was not, maybe there was Facebook. I think that's it at the time. She would call my friends. Never in my mind, never once did I think, oh, this is a thing that I should report. And it's not because it wasn't impacting my life. Like that was a terribly stressful period in my life. Um, because she would just pop up, or she would call. When I knew it was serious is I was driving down uh a street in Jackson, and she called. I answered. She would call from different numbers. I answered, and she said, "You just turned on Northside Drive. Where are you going?" It didn't cross my mind to call the cops.
Yeah, I'm sorry that
Who
happened to you. That is,
who am I gonna report that to?
yeah.
Like, so I don't know.
No, I think you make a good point, and I think so. For me, that is the kind of stuff that we should be more, and I'll say more, right? More focused on when we talk about models of public safety for our communities. I think that the idea always gets defaulted to dealing with fatal incidents of police violence, right? But public safety, um, it addresses a lot of issues, right? Public safety initiatives are keeping people safe as they go to and fro, right? Making sure people maintain boundaries with folks, um, things that are supposed to be preventative and proactive and not always reactive in terms of making sure communities feel safe. Because one thing we know is that the majority of Black folks don't trust the police.
Mm-hmm.
The majority of us can't trust the police.
Mm-hmm.
So in the absence of having alternative public safety, we don't need we assume I just got to deal with this myself, right? In a lot of situations, and I can speak to this, as a Black woman, sometimes I've felt embarrassed to report things, right? Because you think like, oh, well, Charity's too smart to deal with
Yeah,
that,
you're supposed to
or
know
you're
better.
too strong. Yeah, exactly. You're supposed to know better. Like, how could you let this happen to you? So there's
Mhm.
also that idea that, well, you're a strong black woman, you should be able to handle it, or you're an educated black woman, you should have been smarter than that, right? So there's also this this I don't want to call it an imposition, but this idea that we should be able to handle things ourselves, or avoid situations that in some cases are unavoidable.
Yeah.
So yeah, we wanted to bring that up.
I want to switch just because I'm starting to go like inside myself.
Please do.
Oh, let's bring it up. um, Especially since we're talking about folks on people on reality shows. A thing that you and I have talked about before is I think you called it magnification
The
of reality shows.
magnification, for sure.
Did you say that or did I say that? Anyway, whichever one of us said it. Cuz I was talking to you about how I was noticing this thing happening on Love is Blind, which goes back to what you're talking about the ways that white femininity is supposed to perform, and I'm just like, there's a thing happening. It took me until this most recent season. I'm talking about the US iteration of it, not the other countries.
In Ohio, which is like
In Ohio.
Magaville.
Yeah. Which finally let me put my finger on it. It's a thing that I was noticing before, but I didn't, how sometimes you just notice there's a shift, but you can't name the shift. Like something is happening here, but I'm not sure what it was. Man, whoa. One of the couples, when the couples meet the parents and loved ones or whatever, the one of the dads was interrogating this guy. I think he called it a conversation. I think they presented it like it was a conversation, but it's actually an interrogation anyway. So he asked him outright, who he voted for. Now, are these things that conversations that should be had? I think, especially if you're talking about romantic partnerships, you just kind of, you want to know what you're dealing with, right? But I think before that kind of thing would not have even shown up as part of what production showed us. Man asked the guy outright, like who he voted for. Did you vote for, however he said it, the man we have now, or but it was very clear that he was pro Trump. And so the guy says he didn't vote, which I thought was hilarious. Like he couldn't vote or something for whatever reason, but that's definitely who he would have voted for. And I was just like, oh, okay, we just putting it on out here. I don't have to try to figure out what the shift is because you just put it right here in my face.
Yeah, and to your point, because when you pointed, like when we started having this conversation, I went and looked at to see if other people were picking up on it, and there were two black women who were featured on the show, and one of them was on a podcast, and she was saying that she was shocked when they aired the guy saying that he definitely would have voted for Trump. She said because that was one of the questions she was asking in the pods, right? Because Love is Blind is a show where you don't see the person and you have these conversations with them and you decide to get engaged to them sight unseen, right? Mm-hmm. So she said, as a black woman, she was saying that one of the questions she was asking all of them was like, who did you vote for?
Mm-hmm.
And
what's your name? Who did you vote for?
Right. And she was saying that they didn't air any of those conversations of her asking the guys that, right? Mm-hmm. But they aired a guy explicitly saying that he was a Trump supporter. So, yeah, there's definitely, this regime is they're not playing new games, but I think they're playing in our face is what it is, right? Because because everything is crumbling, right? They're trying to present these images of this, heteronormative Christian white masculinity, and it's showing itself over and over and over to be incompetent, right? They're trying to
bastardized Christianity.
Yeah,
It's not even like that's
it's like you don't read the Bible. You
No,
don't you
Jesus
don't follow
didn't it.
Jesus. Jesus didn't say none of this. What are we talking about?
What are you talking about?
But it's
Excuse me.
becoming prevalent in media. And I say that because like even like white women were starting to be like, I wouldn't date any of the guys on this show. Like they're all MAGA. And it's like, I don't
Yeah.
know how to say this, but
Say it and clean it up.
if I was a white woman, I would be devastated at the idea of having to be with a white man. Right? I understand why they date interracially because I what if that was what I was supposed
These
to
are my
get
options.
to, that I'm not,
Yeah.
get me out of here. And
So,
largely
so, Love is Blind. If you were a white woman, you would be devastated about your options. There was a couple. There's an interracial couple on this season. It's a white woman and a black man, locks down to his waist, very nice locks. He needed retwist. Anyway,
I
so
like a little messy locks. I do.
I don't, but they can't always look like that. Like you'll never get no retwist. Anyway, that doesn't matter. So this couple go on Fox News this week. And so people, whoever the people, they are just like, whoa, what's happening here? Why are you on Fox News? Whatever.
Don't say what I think. I'm gonna listen.
So he makes a response video and it's just like, yeah, people are wondering how a person who voted for Kamala Harris and who voted for Joe Biden, and he was just naming, like, running down the Democrat gamut back to, I don't know, Jimmy Carter or whatever. Like, I voted for Democrats. Why would I be on Fox News? And it's to share the love of Christ. We prayed about it and we made the decision. And I, like, you really thought you explained something to me, sir, but it really just, I had more questions.
Yeah.
No, that's not true. I didn't have more questions because really I was just like, whatever.
Yeah,
I really didn't have more questions.
Was all. And let's be honest. There is a serious attempt to recruit Black heterosexual men into the ideologies of the MAGA, right? So having someone there, he's from New York, he's a professor, college professor, and look, even he has been able to get his blonde hair, blue eyed, woman.
Yeah.
So there's for those of folks who have melanated skin who aspire to that, now he becomes a symbol of what they can aspire to.
Is that the red pill or the blue pill? I don't know, friend.
So the pill popping needs to stop.
It's so stressful.
It is.
We have anything else we want to talk about today before we go and see what's happening in the comments?
No,
I hope there are some comments.
There's a couple comments.
That would be embarrassing if there weren't comments.
Yeah,
it's comments.
Yeah, people throw questions if y'all have any. If anything landed, let us know. I got some relatables there. I just I do want to return a little bit to the women's basketball thing.
Okay.
Because it's B Brittany's fault because she put go Vols and that set me off.
Erica is in here. Oh, our boss.
Oh, let me.
Where's my bow tie?
So, but just for context, right? Tennessee Lady Vols, a story program, Pat Head Summit, one of the most respected, renowned coaches. She passed away. And they've been kind of having trouble not only recruiting players, but continuing the legacy of winning, right? So SEC is a conference generally run by Black girls from the South, right? You have LSU, you have South Carolina, you have now Texas and Oklahoma. Tennessee, Vanderbilt, all these teams that generally Ole Miss that play an up-tempo athletic style of basketball. I mean, you know what? All the plantation states, right, have the running, jumping Negroes on their college basketball teams. That's just, that's what we got. That's our reparations. You know what I'm saying? NILs is our reparations for slavery, right? But in an attempt to, I guess, continue the legacy, they brought in a coach who, previous to coaching at Tennessee, coached at West Virginia, coached in, the Midwest. And the reason I want to bring it out is because she made public comments about her team's giving up and they don't have any fight in them. And you could see the girls looking at her in the press conference like, bitch, who is you talking about? Right. But I say that
I'm sorry.
The coach was saying the players weren't playing hard in a press conference. So not in a locker room, but publicly telling the world that, well, our players, they just don't play hard enough or they don't listen well enough. And it was very, if you've ever had a white teacher, it was very that you don't work hard enough or you're a disciplinary problem. And it's unfortunate because what's happening is there's this conversation about, well, maybe they're not disciplined, right? And there's not accountability for the coach really just being over her head, not knowing enough about, one, the SEC style of play. Two, I don't think she knows enough about Black people to be relatable in terms of how to motivate, how to discipline, how to encourage. And it's coming through. So like almost all, the worst thing she did was they had senior night and there was a player, she was top 5 out of high school, came to college, had a lot of injuries. So she didn't get a lot of playing time. But senior night in sports is when, regardless of how much you played, the crowd, your family, they get to acknowledge the contributions that
we're just made. Celebrating you.
So generally, the seniors all get to start. Even if they only play 2 minutes, they get to start. They get to come off and get applause. This senior did not get in the game. They put her in the game with about 12 seconds left. And she made a statement saying, I quit in this very moment. And they asked the coach about it, and she was like, I don't know what happened. This got me completely off guard.
She needed Flojay's mama to advocate for her.
For real, right?
I'm not even being funny.
No, because that advocacy is needed in some cases. But I say that to say there's a big conversation about why there aren't more Black women in head coaching positions. Dawn Staley is the pinnacle and icon, but across the board, yeah, she's dope. But across the board, there's not parity, right? So there's a question about what we do, but at the same time, like her name is Coach Yo. She coaches at Ole Miss, and I'm gonna be honest, I don't know if I will want to coach at Ole Miss or Tennessee or Alabama or any of these schools, right? So there's an issue kind of with college basketball about going into these very hostile spaces where the only places where like Black women and Black girls may be celebrated is, track. In the South, Black girls play softball, and basketball, but the spaces themselves are very, very violent, So, but then they didn't fire the coach at Tennessee. So like all the players are transferring. So I hope there's enough white players that can fill a roster next year. And I hope no Black girls go play for her. And I hope that's a lesson to the NCAA, to, women's basketball as a whole, because, our young women deserve better.
Yeah. There's a question. Do you think the Bachelor franchise can be redeemed? No. I don't. I think it's I think it's a sinking ship, and I think there seems to be a good bit of conversation now around ABC knowing, that this video was here, and how a lot of this was just a ploy. There are some people who are hypothesizing that they never even really recorded an entire season, that they knew that they were going to cancel it.
Wow.
Yeah. So I think at the point where we'll just call it like any kind of media that for the most part is supposed to be light, fun, even if we operate with the idea that there is true love that can come from these setups, right? I think at this point that's all tainted. Like it's not really that fun. It's not really that interesting to just and I don't mean this in any harmful way. Like to people who aren't critical thinkers. That's a nicer way to say it. People who aren't critically engaging and thinking about the media they consume at the point when people like that are just like, oh, like what? Ooh, no, I don't.
Yeah,
I don't think it can be saved. Um,
marriage is too
I
expensive.
do wonder though. I do wonder though what comes next. So, because I even think that as more people start to uh critically engage things, even we'll go back to Love is Blind, right? Like if people are complaining about the magnification of Love is Blind, and oh, if you're going to watch this, if you're going to watch Love is Blind, watch the franchises from other countries if you want to like actually see something like that kind of thing. I don't know. I guess then just comes into a conversation about propaganda. Like they'll just give you what they want you to have, even if it's not necessarily what you're interested in seeing. I don't know. I have to think about that more. But no, I don't think there is any saving.
Yeah, we got to come. It says the media has always been dirty liars, but now they are getting extra greasy, right? So to your point,
Yeah.
um, they don't care that we don't like it now.
Yeah.
That's how the regime is authoritarian. They're willing to lose money to push these archetypes and these narratives, right? They know people aren't watching, they're not buying. But now we want to talk about propaganda. I don't know if you've seen these videos that these Lego videos that are coming out
Send me
from
some.
Iran.
Oh, yeah, 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 yeah. I think, yeah.
Now is must see TV, right? That and I say that not jokingly at all, but Iran is honestly putting on a master class in how to engage propaganda if you want to present yourself alongside of international conflict, right? They're aligning what they're doing with their propaganda, right? In
Hmm.
ways that are highlighting where they're successful. We got people fumbling over their words, um, just showing their incompetence to the world and then doubling down on that incompetence. And that's legitimately the opposite of what propaganda. But I'll say this to say, I think that's the hook. I think the hook is that even being incompetent, even being unqualified, even being vile and immoral, you can still control the resources. I think that's unfortunately the allure of not people like you and me, but I think that's what makes that. I think that's what a lot of people unfortunately are resonating with. Oh, I don't have
Yeah.
to actually be good at my job to be the boss.
Woo! I don't
And
even
that's
want to get
scary.
into that. I don't
That's
even want to get into that. A thing Erica said is, I wish we didn't rely so heavily on them for our entertainment, even our guilty trash, because I love me some trash TV. And I think though then that very quickly turns into a conversation about anti-blackness, because we talk a lot about how we can create our own spaces and whatever, kind of like what we're doing, right? um we can create our own spaces, but then they're very quickly from that turns into what's wrong about it. I mean, just critiques out of this world. Like, gosh, I didn't know that you were such a deep thinker, because you don't ask any of these questions when you're watching, whatever, The Bachelorette. I just, just to stick with that. It's just, yeah, I don't.
And it's to the point we made in like the first episode, like whimsy. Like we deserve trash TV as well. Like that Relationship Goals movie was terrible. Yeah. But why don't Black folks get to have terrible romantic comedies? Like Sandra Bullock was like made a whole career out of doing that. Like,
yeah,
why is everything and it's double-sided, right? Because when you know that any representation of who you are is going to be used, against you, you police yourself. This is the whole thing about shrinking yourself, right? So it's like, no, we have to be on point when we're on TV, or they're going to use that against us, when the reality is they don't need the TV to enact racial violence against us. That's just, the bread and butter that they export to. So when, people come to this country from other places, they already have that ingrained in them. But we need more. I don't want to say this, but like, here's the question, and I'll put this out to the chat and we'll come back to it later. But do we need more Black mediocre stuff, right? Do we need to push back on this idea of Black excellence and just say, hey, some Black stuff we just be good enough?
We already passed the hour. I'm so sick of Black excellence. I am so sick of Black excellence.
Black mediocrity for the win.
I'm so sick of it, because here's the thing. Black excellence really isn't about excellence.
True.
It's not about excellence.
True.
It's tokenization
and branding. It's such good branding. The branding is beautiful.
What's excellent? Show me what's excellent in this thing that you did, baby. Where is the excellence?
My business. What are we talking about?
Like,
you're
selling Avon is not Black excellence.
You're not gonna support my Black-owned business, is what you're saying? So you're anti-Black. Okay.
Yes.
Did someone say Black mediocrity, Tyler Perry? That is not media. That is not mediocre.
What is charity?
I'm trying to find an accurate word, and I don't want to say trash, so I'm searching, because we also do need Black trash TV, right? I'm gonna have to come back to find something, because we need to do that. We need to describe like categories of Black media that we need to see. Because right, Southside, Grand Crew, there were some other shows. Exactly, there were some other shows. So much better on our own spaces. They always do.
I don't know, Erica. The Pop the Balloon. Whew. Anyway, I don't know if you know this, but we're well into an hour. We did say sometimes we might go over.
We did. We'll give you, we thank y'all for staying with us a little bit over. Definitely appreciate y'all. Thanks for the questions. Y'all have given us some stuff to chew on. Yeah, Southside. Somebody from Chicago says Southside was canceled because it was exactly that. Southside was a good show. I can't hate on that.
I never watched it. Not because I was trying not to. I just never did.
Yeah.
It's not a thing I ever watched.
They need, you know what they need? They need a show in Jackson centered around like a potential political camp. Yeah, it should be like.
There is a show in Jackson. It's called Bell Collective.
Jesus Christ. Hey, we gotta go.
That's in Jackson. It is. The people text me and ask me questions about that show.
Jeez, that's like when Cheaters used to be. I don't know. I lived in Texas when Cheaters would like show up places where you would be like, oh, that's Cheaters. Yeah, so that was a different time.
Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up. I did a playlist that I'm going to share and for the man behind the curtain to share with the chat. Excuse me. One of my favorite things to do is make playlists, and I want them to, it's like my a playlist for me is like an album that I want to hear, right? So I'll pull songs from all over and like make my own album. And I made this playlist called "It's the Hope That Kills You."
Oh,
So that is in the chat now, and yeah.
awesome. Well, I'll put it on this weekend, Madam Governor.
Oh yeah, I watched the first season of that. It wasn't awful.
I did not.
So
Yeah. Well, thank y'all so much. Subscribe, like, or whatever y'all do.
oh
Ooh, what
oh
about
wait, what about
it's crazy?
give me just a second. Give me just a second, and I'll address that question about the Android game. It takes me longer because that's not my ecosystem that I work in, but that is a thing I've done. So give me a minute, and I'll get that for you.
Well, awesome. This is Grown Black Girls. We'll be back in a couple more weeks. Talk about more things. Have a great weekend.
Thanks y'all for joining. Thank you, Kim, especially because it's early where you are in California. That's so sweet. We're special. Okay, we're just gonna keep rambling, so you can turn that our good theme music on probably.
Yes, indeed.
So and then you waved, and we're not rambling. You just waved and was like bye. So
No. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Are you following
see,
us on
now we
all
rambling.
socials? I
Yeah,
mean, we live. We post a ramble. You know what I'm saying? The producer
that's
gonna
what people
cut us,
do.
gonna take us out with the theme music, and that's when we'll know to stop. So
Yeah, that's
until
what people
then,
do on other podcasts. They just be rambling.
yeah. Soon enough, we're gonna be big enough where I can be like, "Is this my camera? Is that where?"
Yeah,
You
or
know what
like
I'm
on
saying?
Zoom calls when people don't hang up because they just trying to see who gonna stay on.
I've never been one not to hurry up off a Zoom call.
I stay on if I have a question, and it's just be like, y'all hang up so I can ask the person my question.
Oh, that
They
makes
just be
sense.
trying to see what other people trying to do.
Well, yeah.
Mm, all right.
But yeah, y'all have a great weekend.
Now, somebody, Gwendolyn gonna get on talking about, hey, y'all. I hope you didn't just join. It's over. We doing the rambling part. But thank you for joining. Rewind it and listen. You be watching in The Bachelorette, I think, in The Bachelor. Peace,
Peace.
Brittany. Okay, we just gonna hang up. We look stupid now. Okay, bye, friend.
I can't go out without changing my clothes, my shoes, my body posture. I can't do what I want to do with my own body, and who in the hell set things up like this? I was wrong again to be me being me where I was. Wrong to be who I am. I am very familiar with the problems of the CIA, and the problems of white America in general, and the problems of the teachers and the preachers and the FBI and the social workers and my particular mom and dad. I am very familiar with the problems because the problems turn out to be me. I am the history of the terrorized incarceration of myself. I am the history of battery, assault, and limitless armies against whatever I want to do with my mind and my body and my soul. I am not wrong. Wrong is not my name. And I can't tell you who the hell set things up like this, but I can tell you that from now on, my resistance, my simple and daily and nightly self-determination may very well cost you your life.